Let me start formally. Mr. Gerard Brimo, Mr. Negrales, Mr. Jacques, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be back in the Philippines after 7 years since my last visit. And I'd like to thank Mr. Brimo and his colleagues at the Chamber of Mines for making this tremendous event possible. He's got a great team. JB Bailon, like in 2012, has been a source of great strength in organising it. And I'd like to just extend my thanks to the team that's organised this. A lot, of course, has changed since 2012. I wasn't going to start on this tack, but listening to nothing symbolises it in a way more than Mr. Negrales' speech just now, describing the new growing links between China and the Philippines. Really, this is so encouraging and so different from the situation when I was here in 2012. I'll just say a few words, first of all, about my book. There were basically 5 major propositions in my book. And of course, basically, it was finished in 2008. The first was that China would become the biggest economy in the world. The second proposition was that China that over time would probably reach the point now where westernization had peaked, dominating as it had the previous 200 years, and we were now seeing the growth of Chinese influence and, if you like, the beginnings of a process of sinification. That China's rise was not simply an economic phenomenon. At that time, China was always talked about in terms of the economy, including in China itself, and that China would emerge, not just as an economic power, but as a political power, a cultural power, an ethical power, a military power, and so on in the course of time. That, contrary to what was felt in the West, the Chinese political system enjoyed deep roots and legitimacy, and it was not weak, it was strong, and with China's rise, it would become stronger still. And finally, I suppose my other proposition was that Chinese modernity would be different from Western modernity. I mean, there would be a serious overlap, of course, but it would be different. In other words, China would not become a Western-style society. Now, I suppose, even if you've only got one eye, you can see that all of these propositions that I made then, which were very controversial, the book was well received, but was obviously not arguing the conventional wisdom of that time, that all of these propositions in some fundamental way have come true. The only thing that surprises me, to be honest, because I did think when I wrote them that they would come true, was the speed. I mean, that, I was regarded as a sort of, an uber optimist, if you like, about China's transformation. But even I underestimated the speed with which the change has taken place. So now, where are we? Well, let me get something out of my pocket, like the pointer, and well, this is just immediate background graph, which is based on the World Bank International Comparison Program, and it shows China overtaking the size of the American economy. This is measured by purchasing power parity, GDP purchasing power parity, in 2014, which, please remember, that in 1980, the Chinese economy was 1/20th of the size of the American economy. This has been the most remarkable economic transformation in human history when you talk about the speed with which it's happened. Now, since I was here last, I think there's been two really important, if not more, but two really important changes in China. The first is a really big shift in the centre of gravity of the Chinese economy and the way in which the Chinese have envisaged the development of their economy. And previously, it was very much based on cheap goods, exporting to the world, relatively low value-added stuff and so on. And the two things that really, priorities that have replaced this since, are firstly, a new stress, a quite new stress, on the importance of domestic consumption. China now stands on the verge of becoming the largest economy in the world. And don't be under any illusions, most sectors of the Chinese economy are hugely competitive. It is, anybody who exports to China knows this, but China is an extremely competitive economy, much more competitive for the most part, for example, than the American economy, which we historically have identified, used to think of as the most competitive economy in the world. And the second change, which Ren Zhengfei from Huawei has already sort of introduced for us, is the emphasis on moving up the value chain, moving away from just making low-end cheap goods and rising the technological ladder. And China has done this with a speed which, again, I have to confess, I did not expect them to be able to do. I knew they were going to adopt this kind of target. But to think that today, well, let's look at some figures. This is a bar chart of the 6 biggest global tech firms. And look, of the 6, well, 10 years ago, they would all have been American. Now, 2 of the top 6 are Chinese. Tencent, WeChat and so on, and Alibaba. Or, I think this is even more revealing. I'm sorry it's not very exciting visually, but this is an American source, Kleiner Perkins, who I think is done on a weekly or at least a monthly basis, draws up a list measured by market cap, the top 20 internet firms in the world. Okay? This is the one produced in end of May last year. And in the top 20, there are 11 American firms and 9 Chinese. And if you go back just 5 years earlier, China only had 2 firms in the top 20. And America had 18. That is the speed of travel of China's technological transformation. If you look at this graph, I mean, China's a very forward-looking administration. It's remarkable. It's sense of the future. I think far surpassing anything in the West by a long way. But look at the rise of the curve there in the yellow, orange, which is on research. Right, that one got away. I'll just tame it and then I'll start it again. So I thought I'd just show you 3 videos which illustrate China's rise. Okay, enjoy them. Whoops, you won't enjoy them if nothing happens.
Hello.
Oh, camera. Okay, let's start again.
Hello to everyone. everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency. My voice and appearance are modeled on Zhang Zhao, a real anchor with Xinhua. The development of the media industry calls for continuous innovation and deep integration with the international advanced technologies. I will work tirelessly to keep you informed as texts will be typed into my system uninterrupted. I look forward to bringing you brand new news experiences.
So, is there any television news readers or presenters in the audience? Your job is not immediately under threat, but it may be in the future. This is to relax you. That's an illustration of the speed with which China's technological advance is taking place. And I haven't even mentioned Huawei here, but you could hear from Mr. Ren the situation. So that's the first point I want to make. That's the first shift, which is the way in which the centre of gravity of the Chinese economy has shifted very rapidly. The second way I think that China has changed a lot in its view of itself and its place in the world is basically prior to 2010, very much in line with Deng Xiaoping's thinking that China's rise should be sort of debauchee, cautious, don't show leadership, high capability, and ensure that China got on with everyone as far as possible, and so on. And China's moved essentially from that approach, which is a recipient of globalization, a beneficiary of globalization, but to now a situation where it's increasingly becoming a maker of globalization, a leader of globalization, setting out the quite new perspectives, often very innovative actually. And Mr. Nograles mentioned, for example, the Asian Infrastructure Bank, which was China's first ever attempt to establish a major multinational institution, starting off with 22, 23 countries, then Indonesia joined, making all of East Asia, South Asia and Central Asian countries. And then Britain, extraordinary at that time, decided to join, and now I think the membership of the AIB is, I don't know what the latest membership is, but it's 100 or pushing 100 or maybe over 100. And even more dramatically than that is this, Belt and Road. China's strategy, which I'll come back to, for transforming the Eurasian landmass, the largest landmass in the world, home to 65% of the world's population. And let's assume it's modestly successful. I think it will have a dramatic effect on the world over the next several decades. But I will come back to that in detail towards the end. Now, one word before I move on, and that is around about 2010, in the English language, emanating probably from the United States, a new word began to be used in relationship to China's new global strategy, and that was the word assertive, that China was becoming assertive. Now, in one sense, I think, well, what do rising powers, great powers do? I mean, they expand in all sorts of ways around the world, and they take on new concerns and so on. And that's what happened to Britain after the Industrial Revolution, to France, to Germany, to Japan, obviously the United States, and so on. But often this word assertive carried with it a kind of negative association. And I want to stress something here, which I think is too rarely said, and that is how remarkably peaceful China's rise has been compared with all the countries I just listed. If you go back to the period of the rise of Britain, or France, or Germany, or Japan, or the United States, they fought countless wars of expansion during the period of their rise. China has not fought any wars of that kind during this period. In fact, if you take it since 1978, barring the border conflict with Vietnam in 1979, it has not fought any wars during that period. So actually, China's rise has been conducted with great, in my view, great responsibility and caution. And I think this point should be very strongly emphasized. Now, of course, we've come to a new fork in the road, if you like, for China. And that fork in the road is what's happening in the relationship between China and the United States. And I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about this because it's very important. Now, between 1972, which was the year of the Mao-Nixon Accord, and 2016, actually the relationship between China, although there were many different presidents and many different general secretaries, that relationship was relatively stable, growing trade, growing engagement, and a in a certain kind of way, mutual respect. Why? What underpinned the stability of that period, and why has that period now become unstitched, unraveled, and in my view will be impossible to resume? Well, there were two beliefs, convictions that underpin the American attitude towards the relationship with China. The first was that there was a fundamental, or huge actually, economic inequality between the two countries. I mean, one was a giant and one was a dwarf. Of course, over time that began to change with China's rise. But for most of the period, until very near the end, it was extremely unequal economically. So China, the United States, did not in any way feel challenged by China's economic rise until much later. So that was the first point. The second point was the belief, and by the way, I think the Americans never thought that China could actually reach or overtake China. And the second point is that the consensual American position was that over time, as China modernized, it would become increasingly Western. You know, there was a belief in Western orthodoxy that essentially modernization was synonymous with Westernization. And this will be true of China as well. So China will soon become a Western-style society. Now these two propositions that underpin American attitudes towards the relationship with China were spectacularly wrong. I mean, extraordinarily wrong. Extraordinarily wrong calculations about what would happen with China. You know, they sort of speak to the kind of hubris that unfortunately characterizes the behavior of hegemons, of which it is the United States is not the only one, but has been by far the most important in the recent period. Now, it came, of course, it's come unstitched with, particularly in the person of Trump, and the election of Trump as president. And he is, I think that the shift really is what happened in America and to the American economy. You know, globalization had been, neoliberal globalization had been really, with Thatcher, the American invention. But the problem was that it worked for a large section of the population, but maybe for as much as 40% of the population, it didn't work. Their living standards between about 1980, roughly, between about 1980 and 2016, were either relatively stagnant, or increased slightly, or for many actually decreased. And the rise of Trump, or the success of Trump, was his ability to hear this, to see this, to give voice to it, and to mobilize it into a winning presidential campaign. And part of that campaign was an attack on China, and China's been cheating us, robbing us, unfair trade, unfair currency, and all the rest of it. Actually, China is a factor in the problems of the United States, but really, the reason for this problem in the United States was the kind of globalization that was pursued. It was not an inclusive globalization, just like happened in Britain. Lots of parts of the country have been left behind. Lots of people have been deserted during this period. Huge growth in inequality and so on. But it's easier always, of course, to blame China, because China is is over there, and it's a way of avoiding addressing the huge problems that face the United States today. So now we're in a situation where the fundamental tenets of the previous period of the relationship between China and the United States have come undone. And since 2016, we've seen the growth of, first of all, the trade war, of course, emanating from Trump, as the tariffs have mounted. China's cautiously but toughly responded, and we see no end to this at the moment. There's always a promise from Trump. A tweet says maybe we'll have a conversation in October or January or wherever part of the year we're in. And then there's been growing the tech war, which I think is extremely important, because what frightens the Americans is China becoming a technological power which is more than a match for the United States. In American history, it's never faced that kind of challenge. That was not a challenge it faced in the Cold War, because the Soviet Union was always well behind the United States technologically. And thirdly, it's begun to, this hostility, this growing estrangement, has begun to seep into other areas of Americans' relationship with China. Chinese scholars being stopped, not issued with visas, talk of, I was listening to someone the other day in Beijing, who is the deputy dean of the Sloan Management School at MIT, and he was, at 25% of their students are from China, from the PRC, and there's talk of stopping, of reducing, or greatly reducing the numbers of these students, or their ability to get jobs afterwards. These actually Chinese graduates in the United States have been very important in Silicon Valley, as you probably know, in firms like Google and Apple and so on. So I think that the prospects don't look good. If you listen to the speech last March at the Hudson Institute made by the Vice President Mike Pence, it was straight out of the worst periods of the Cold War, accusing China of everything that you could possibly want to. It reminded me of watching Arthur Miller's hugely important historical play, The Crucible, and what happens when this kind of thing begins to take root in a society. Let me just have a look. What I wanted to try and explain also is, well, we're moving towards a Cold War. Or are we moving towards a Cold War? Well, we're sort of nudging on the edge of a Cold War. Pence's speech would be definitely placing us back in something like a Cold War. But I don't think we should view the prospect of a Cold War between China and the United States as a rerun of the last Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Now I want to illustrate this one, because this is very interesting. I think it tells us quite a lot. Now, this graph here, if you can see it, is the size of the size of GDP, the size of the. I'll try not to fall off. Let me light entertainment for you. This is the Soviet Union and Russia. Russia is in the turmoil, the Soviet Union is green, obviously the Soviet Union exists now. And that's China's curve, rising above the United States. This is in 2018, GDP again, purchasing power parity. And you can see that China is totally different as in terms of an economic rival with the United States. China is on a par with the United States. The Soviet Union was never vaguely like it. Let me give you another illustration. I mean, central, I think, to my argument about why America's getting into trouble is American decline. Not absolute decline. When we talk about decline, we virtually never talk about absolute decline. Occasionally societies do go into absolute decline, but it's very unusual. We're interested in relative decline. What's the position of the United States relative to the rest of the world, China, or whatever it is? And you can, this is very interesting. This is from European Council on Foreign Relations, and you can see over a 10-year period, it's about 2 years old now, this graph, look at how Americans have viewed the last 10 years. American, 21% of, we're going to get this right, 21% of Americans think, only 21% of Americans think that their country is more important than it was 10 years ago. Look for the Chinese. Nearly three-quarters of Chinese think their country now has a more important role in the world. Or at the other end of the scale, 48% of Americans think that their country now is less important in the world compared to 10% of Chinese. So American decline in all sorts of senses, economic, diplomatic, and so on, I'll come back to this, is a very real phenomenon which has been seriously underestimated, actually, especially in the West, although up to a point also underestimated, I think, in China. Now, probably the most striking feature of the last Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union was military competition. That was what was so frightening about it. You know, the Berlin, the incident over Berlin, Cuban Missile Crisis, is there going to be a nuclear war, and so on. Now, I'm not saying that such dangers don't exist anymore, but I think it's important to understand that China's a very different kind of great power to the United States and to the Soviet Union. Because China's really historically, for the last 2,000 years, never really majored on war. I mean, Japan did in Asia, but China never has. And for the most part, when China did what, China was on the receiving end of military aggression and expansionism. And I think that the Chinese attitude towards the military is, they will get a modern military. They will defend, particularly they will defend themselves against the Americans and the 7th Fleet in the South China Sea and so on. But they don't envisage their rise being essentially because of military capacity, military capability. I mean, the Navy was absolutely crucial to the rise of Britain and the British Empire. The military has been very important for the rise of the United States, particularly since 1945, and also played a key role in the Second World War. But the Chinese don't really think like that. If you think of Sun Tzu, for example, the old famous ancient Chinese military strategist, he viewed war as a failure. It was something to avoid. You only went to war if everything else had failed. So the Chinese, their attitude was, and it remains, that our rise is essentially an economic and cultural rise. That is the way that they conceive of their rise. And if you want a dramatic even more dramatic illustration of the potential imbalance economically of China and the United States, it is this pie chart. This is a pie chart, again, GDP according to purchasing power parity, and you'll see that this is 2030. Look, these are all projections, okay? So you've got to treat all projections with a pinch of salt. Some actually become remarkably accurate, but sometimes they don't. This is for 2030. I think personally we're talking about something more like 2035. Chinese economy, you see that? 1/3 of global GDP. American economy, 15% of global GDP. The Chinese economy will be twice the size of the American economy. And it will be bigger than the US and the EU together. You'll notice that India there is the second biggest economy according to this measure by 2035. So, another difference. One of the fundamental characteristics of the last Cold War was ideological difference between the Soviet Union and America. Capitalism versus communism. It was very deep divide. The two blocks, the two countries and the two blocks, as they were completely estranged and cut off from each other. That's not true of China. China's approach has not been either, ever since Deng Xiaoping said, no, this is not the way to do things. The way to do it is China needs to become part of the world, accepted by the world. We need to compete and cooperate with the capitalist world, the capitalist countries. We must measure ourselves against them. We must see ourselves as an integrated part of the world. That's completely different from the old Soviet kind of view. Now, what's going to happen? Well, look, this growing estrangement is going to be very damaging. I mean, we'll almost certainly, I think, end up with a recession, a global recession. Now, every country, including the Philippines, including my country, Britain, although a lot of Britain's problems are self-inflicted at the moment, we're all going to suffer. We're all going to suffer. The United States will suffer. China will suffer. With no question about that. But in my view, the United States will be the loser in this battle. If you look at the figures for the first year, from July to June this year, July 2018 to June 2019, China's exports to the United States, despite all the tariffs, increased by 1%. American exports to China, admittedly only much lower, decreased by over 20%. In other words, so I think that the trade war as a way. I mean, what's Trump trying to do? Let's be clear what Trump's trying to do, and this attitude. Trump is trying to stop China's rise, or slow it down, or reverse it. I mean, he's trying to destroy Huawei. There's no question what he's trying to do. He's trying to destroy Huawei, and he will not. And so on the tariff front and the trade front, thinks that China's going to be the loser. I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to suffer, they're going to suffer from it, but the Americans could well suffer more from the trade war than China does. And on the tech war, well, I think Ren sums up the Chinese attitude very well. I mean, the Americans will fail to. They would like to destroy Huawei, and shall I tell you something? They will absolutely fail to destroy Huawei. They will not destroy Huawei. Why? Well, see, do they really think that basing China